Hi crafters, this is Raquel from Paints and Glitter. I welcome you to my channel. Today is unboxing day for Tonic Studios. I'm going to share with you the brand new kit, what's inside, and also how to assemble the craft that you can make with this. So I'm super excited to show you. Today's kit is a subscription box that you can get. If you want to subscribe, you're going to get 10% off of anything else that you purchase from Tonic Studios. You can also opt to purchase a one-off kit. So this kit is called Pretty Pail, and it's super cute. It is a 3D project, but of course you can also use it for card making. So you get this insert that right away gives you an idea of how you can use it. And it also has a listing of the items that you're going to find inside. This month, what is exclusive to it is the fact that every 3 months you do get a hard binder, and this is to allow you to organize all of your little wallets. They look like this, and inside of here, you're going to get all of your exclusive items. Let's start there. You're going to get a 3D die set. So this one's going to allow you to create that darling little pail. It also comes with full instructions. So I'll show you the dies in a moment. This month you're also getting a 3D embossing folder. Super cool. I love that Tonic Studios is doing that. And you're also going to get 4 sheets of foil fusion adhesive sheets. So these will allow you to adhere the different portions onto the paper after you cut them with the dies. And once you do that, you're going to be able to use foil to decorate your little pail. There are some sentiments here. I want to read them to you. It says, "Have a little treat, a gift for you, well done, thank you." And then there are different florals, and this one here, for instance, will match the handle, and this will match the side of the pail, this one here. So pretty. Along with that, you have the decorative dies that you can use also to cut into the papers. Okay, so these dies here are going to allow you to create the sentiments for your little tag, and they read, "Good things, small packages, have a treat with love." And the love is just inferred by the little heart. And this little die here will allow you to create a rolled flower. So that's super cute. And I will be doing an assembly tutorial for you today. So every month you get some full-size product. And this month's Nouveau products are all full-size, of course. You're going to get a roll of Tropical Ocean Foil Fusion. Now this is 3 inches wide, and it gives you plenty of opportunity to apply that gorgeous color onto your little foil fusion sheets. Then you get this color, which is Hollow Waves, one of my personal favorites. If you see that, all of that reflection gives you a rainbow of colors there. That is so pretty. I absolutely love that. And along with those colors, you're going to receive either an iceberg blue or a sea breeze jewel drop. So let me show you this one. So depending on the kit that you receive, you may get either this color here. This is called Sea Breeze, and this is a jewel drop. So it's a bit translucent, but it dries as a dome shape, so as if it were a little pearl. And if not, if you don't get this color, you'll get the one that's called Iceberg Blue. You're also going to be getting in your kit this gorgeous drop. This is a crystal drop, so this has a pearlescent finish, and this is called Wisteria Purple, one of my personal favorite colors. It's just such a gorgeous light lavender color, absolutely darling. And there's also included in this kit a shimmer powder. If you're not familiar with shimmer powders, these will split when you add water to them. Now, mind you, these are all water-based mediums, so if you like to color or paint with a paintbrush, you can just add water to any one of them. But this one, when you add it onto paper and then spritz with water, which you can do with one of these light mist bottles from Tonic, then it's going to split into different colors. And this is called Violet Brocade, so there is some blue in there. Really neat product. And it adds a beautiful shimmer, and even the bottle is adorable. So those are your Nouveau products this month. Now let's take a peek at the papers. Here are the papers you're going to get in your kit this month, and these are the classic card, which is linen weave on one side and smooth on the other. So you can definitely apply the foil fusion sheets to either side, depending if you like texture or not. But the colors here are cream, misty gray, and pewter gray, which is so darling, and then also bubblegum pink. So really, really pretty colors there. You're also going to get a mirror card in hollow waves. So that, of course, matches that foil that I had shown you perfectly. And you're also going to get another frosted silver mirror card that you can definitely emboss with that 3D embossing folder. And there is also a piece of glitter card in Tropical Tide, which of course matches that drop absolutely perfectly, and also this foil. So you get to see how those combinations are just darling. And lastly, you're going to get a piece of vellum, and you can also use your foil onto this vellum. So a lot of fun colors and textures to play with. So I am going to start cutting papers, and I will guide you through the assembly of the pretty pail. To begin making this little pail, you're going to be using 2 main panels. I'm going to be making 2 of these with you today, by the way, so that I can share with you some different features of this kit, because there's just so much. You'll need 2 handle panels, and as you can see, I've already gone ahead and used that beautiful 3D embossing folder. The texture is just amazing. And you'll also need what's called 2 joiner panels. They look like this, and of course you can decorate them. So I'm gonna go ahead and use one of the layers, but in a minute when we make the other one, I'll show you the other option to decorate this. There is quite a lot. As I was cutting the papers, I just kept wanting to do more, but these are just awesome. I love that you can make a super masculine project with this, or a very feminine one. Now the main panels, as you can see here, one of them is already shaped. You're going to want to take it pretty side up, and there's one horizontal line here that you're going to want to immediately just fold and burnish. And you're going to notice that it doesn't go all the way to the end. This piece here will be the top. You're going to fold that away from you and fold the handle back. So that's a valley fold. So you have valley, mountain, mountain, and now another valley. Okay, so if you're looking at it from this direction, valley, mountain, mountain, and valley. Hopefully that's easy. Now you're going to flip this over, grab your Craft Perfect adhesive, double-sided adhesive, or of course you could use Nuvo adhesive, but I'm going to just get this prepped for the moment. You're going to take this and grab a paper creaser and just place it in your palm and gently give it a little bit of shape there. Now that you have that prepared, these 2 are going to overlap. They mirror each other, so I'm just going to set these aside for a moment. And these little tabs you can also fold as a valley fold. So just fold those up. But these are going to overlap, and what you're going to do is adhere one right on top of the other. Not the tab, just the central circular portion here. Apply generous adhesive there. And then line this up, making sure not to overlap that fold line. Now we can flip this over, and we can remove the liner to the adhesive, and this is going to fold up and match up that line there, and burnish that. You're going to do the same on the other side. Okay, and that's going to fold up again. Burnish that. Now you have something that looks like this. If you'd like to, you can decorate the inside. So what I did is that I cut it out of the cream cardstock using the dies included. And these are going to line the inside of my pail. So what I'm going to do is cut these down a tiny little bit. Okay, because I want to alter the lining using the shimmer powder. I've gotten a piece here of this messy mat that I can work on. And what I've done is I did cut these down to 1 7/8 inches tall just to fit inside of the pail because I had already adhered this. Otherwise, if I had stuck them down first, I wouldn't have had to cut them down. But what I'm going to do is sprinkle some of this onto this paper. And then I'm going to spritz it with water. So if you see that, all of the color starts coming out. It's so much fun to play with because you can alter your papers quite a bit. And depending on how much water you add, of course, you're going to get an entirely different look. You spray it to your heart's content. I think it's a lot of fun to watch it travel along the paper. So you'll see there's some really intense color in there. And once you start, it's hard to not want to do this on everything. But take advantage of any of the color combinations that you like. I just think this will be a cute little surprise for the inside of the pail. I'm going to dry these now. Okay, using this little die here that has the heart, I did cut out one little heart using the paper that had that pretty shimmer on it. And now the other pieces are nice and dry. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and apply them to the inside here. So what you want to ensure you do now is that you start shaping this in a half moon shape, and you're going to apply adhesive so that this portion here overlaps on top of this edge. You can apply your adhesive on this little edge here. And again, just be gentle as you're shaping this and place that one right on top. Now you're going to repeat that on the opposite side, again overlapping the half triangle portion on top of the solid one there. You can also help yourself with a little clip like that if you need to, so that way you can let go of it and take a peek around, make sure everything looks good. Okay, so here one piece of advice I'll give you is if you've altered the paper in any way and there's any kind of texture on it, just be sure that you apply plenty of adhesive so that it doesn't curl up. Okay. But I think that's plenty dry now. So you're going to notice that you do have a little bit of a ridge on the bottom, and that's exactly what you want. And now for the top, this is going to close like so, and these little side pieces are going to fit right into those little triangular apertures that you created. And there is a little bit of a join there. Hopefully you can see that, but you'll notice it once you get the kit in your hands. this is the foundation. This is what it should look like, which is super cute. But we can do so much more with this. The first thing is that you have some reinforcement pieces here that are going to adhere on the outside here now. So that join, if you didn't make it perfectly symmetrical there, then don't be too alarmed. It's okay, because you're going to cover it with these pieces now. There's also this other piece here that I want to introduce, and you can add it on here as well. What I'm going to do is add it before I add this joiner panel. So I am going to place this there first, and that just has that little V shape. It's going to match perfectly there. And those are going to be the little handles. And now I'm going to, oopsie, join it here. I'm always so quick to add adhesive. But I'm now going to cover that up with this one. And it's going to match perfectly. That's what's beautiful about the Tonic dies. The little joiner panel. It's going to reinforce everything. Okay, now there are two little half moon tabs on the inside. I am going to apply just a little drop of adhesive to each one of those and then press them toward the edge of the pail. And you only need a tiny little drop. Having said that, I think I added a little bit too much, and you can see it there, but it will dry clear. I just take my fingernail and wipe off any excess, if I'm honest. Okay, so this is what we have so far. The inside nice and bright, and then the outside with this dark gray. And of course there are more panels, so I've gone ahead and cut them out of the mirror card, that satin mirror card, and I'm going to adhere these. So this is the top portion. The sides I've already shaped also just by curving the paper a little bit like this. Because I use that 3D embossing folder, I don't want to manipulate this too much, because if I do, the paper will start to crack, and that's because it's mirror card. And I'm going to be generous with my adhesive here because there's mountains and valleys on this paper. And this can match the outside now, the same way we did the inside. Now you may have noticed that I applied this while this pail already was assembled. So after the assembly, instead of applying these layers while my paper was flat. The reason behind it is only because I use that 3D embossing folder and I used mirror card. So depending on the paper, you may want to apply everything while it's still flat. In this case, I would advise against it, only because of the type of paper that this is. But if you're comfortable applying it while everything's still flat, then of course you can do that. So as I shared with you before, I went ahead and embossed those. You have an alternative, which is to cut a thinner portion and just decorate it like that if you'd like. So it's personal taste. I went ahead and cut this, so I may as well use it. And then, of course, you want to decorate the opposite side the same. I think if you're doing a pirate theme party, this would be perfect. or what is it? The tools. If you're doing a little birthday party with tools or garden theme. Okay, so now these guys are going to fit right inside again. Match them up. Might need to squeeze this a little bit, and they're going to fit again right through that little aperture on both sides. There we go. And it closes perfectly, so you get a really nice snug fit there. And you can further decorate this. What I did is that I cut the little tag that says "with love." That's why I had cut out that little heart, and I just cut the layer. Now the layer can go on top, but it can also go behind the paper if you cut into it, and that's what I did here. So I only need a little bit of adhesive on the edges here, but this is going to layer right in here. And I cut the tag twice so that it's pretty on both sides. And the little heart now I'll place right in here. You can see that little bit of color peeking through there, which I think is a lot of fun. So I'm going to grab some ribbon, and I'm now going to be able to tie this on one of the sides, which I think is super cute. Okay, off camera I went ahead and added the second layer here to the handle with the Hollow Waves paper. I also added 2 pieces of ribbon there to attach the little tag, and those were in Glacier Gray and also in Arctic Blue. Those were from Craft Perfect and 3mm wide, so they might still be available from Tonic, and if they are, then of course I invite you to take a peek. I'll have links below all of my videos always with the store links so that you can go right to Tonic Studios and pick up any items you want. Here I'm just going to top this off now with this little drop. And this was the Sea Breeze, so it's the lighter of the two. And because this is such a light blue, I thought it would look so cute together right on top of that little heart, just to give it a little more dimension. And I'm going to set this aside to dry, and then let's move on to the second one because I want you to see what I did with that. Now here I've prepared all of the layers already. I also use the Hollow Waves because that is my favorite. But using that pewter gray, I went ahead and cut the foundation pieces, so that part will be exactly the same. I didn't cut anything to line the inside, but let's just get this part assembled. Okay, once you get to this point here, to apply the joiner panels, I wanted to share with you the layers. The dies included will allow you to cut this very intricate panel here that I've cut out of the Hollow Waves paper, and then using the other papers I went ahead and decorated it and also added the drops. So the center drop is the one that's called Wisteria Purple, and then the surrounding drops are the jewel drop in the Sea Breeze color. So those look quite clear on this paper, but I promise you it does have a very light blue color, and I'm going to layer that. I've used the cream color there as the background, as you can tell, and I just thought that was such a pretty combination. So what I did is I did all of the inlay pieces with the dies included, and I let all of these drops dry overnight, and that's why they're nicely leveled out now. Now, depending on how much you use, you're going to get a higher beveled drop, or you can do it quite flat. It's up to you. Just be mindful that if you are going to be manipulating the paper, you may want to add the drops after the fact, but that's a personal preference. And again, I didn't add layers to the inside of this one, but I think you get the idea of how much you can decorate these. And if you want to, of course, you can do the same, which is to add these little guys. I really like them. I think they're super cute, and you don't have to add them to both sides. It's really up to you, but I think it looks really cute. And then that one right on top. I wanted you to see, once I have those side panels adhered very nicely, then I can go ahead and add the side panels here. So using the solid die, I did cut out the cream cardstock. Same goes for all of the other pieces really. And then you have these intricate dies. So using those, I cut out the bubblegum pink paper that you see inlaid there and up here. And then, of course, I cut out the holographic paper using both together. That way I could have my outer layer. And I've been asked this before, so I wanted to mention that generally speaking, you always want to have your mirror card as the outermost layer, as you see here. That way it adheres nicely, and you can decorate it, of course, as I've done here with the drops. So even that center flower there is actually all colored with the wisteria drop. I just placed tiny little drops in there and then move them around with my stylus. I've done that in other tutorials. Also taking advantage of this double-sided adhesive from Craft Perfect, because when you have really sturdy pieces like these, they tend to pull away. So it's good to take advantage of that Craft Perfect adhesive. It's nice and strong. So here, of course, there was a curve in that, so I only added it to that topmost edge. But on this one here, because I'm following the curve of this little pail, what I've done is that I've applied it all the way around as much as possible here. And there is a wider double-sided adhesive from Tonic Studios, and let me show you that really quickly. Oopsie. So that looks like this. So if you want to, you can always use these larger rolls for pieces like these. So that's what I do, is I double it up and then add the curvature to this just very, very gently, and then match it up to the base here. And I'm pressing from the center out so that I don't have any buckling in my paper. Pulling that paper out a little bit. Okay, and I wanted to show you the assembly of these layers because of the fact that there are already drops on here, and because this is mirror card. I get a lot of questions in my videos about how to assemble the pieces that are 3D assembly without ruining the mirror paper. Mirror card, I should say, and this is how I do it. And I will take a little cloth or kitchen towel or paper towel and humidify it a tiny little bit, just a little drop of water, and then you can go around and burnish that paper if you accidentally got a little bit of wet glue on it. And I've done the same thing. So there you see, I repeated the same steps, and because the pieces are small, I just leave them on my cutting plate. What I did this time around was to use the glue pen from Nuvo. It looks like this, and it looks just like a ballpoint pen, and that was perfect for applying those tiny little pieces of paper there. Worked really, really well. I love the shine. It's so pretty. So you can tell I've tried to take this project into two very different directions. One of them more, I would say this is much more masculine, and then this one's all girly girly with all the flowers. So I'm going to flip this one over, and you may notice that I did use those lavender drops on the centers here of some of the smaller flowers, and over here as well. So some of them dried quite flat, even though I try to be a little bit generous with the drops, not too crazy though, because I didn't want them to crack as I was manipulating the paper. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to apply a second layer on the inside. Okay, now you get to see what that looks like when it's closed, and it's also doubled up on the outside and on the inside there. I think it looks quite nice, and it's really nice and sturdy, so it can take the bulk. I wanted to see if that was possible. And you do have to press on here just to make sure that these join perfectly in the center. Now the other die, of course, discussed earlier, was this one here, and that creates this darling little flower. And of course, depending on how tight you roll it, you're going to get a different result. You will need a quilling tool. It has a little slit on the top portion there, and that's where you feed the end of this little flower. It fits right in there, and you can roll away from yourself or toward yourself. And I like to have the pretty texture facing me, so I'm going to roll this toward myself, and you just try to follow the bottom edge there as best as you can, and you keep rolling it, and I push it up so that I don't lose that edge. Okay, so you just keep rolling, 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 not too crazy because you might lose your place there. So you tighten it as much as you want to. Now this bottom circle portion is where you're going to adhere your flower. So that's where you want to place a generous amount of adhesive. And don't worry, the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive dries clear. So go ahead and cover that little circle with plenty of adhesive. And you can kind of let go of this a little bit now. And just make sure that it meets the bottom. So you just press it together now, and you can kind of accommodate this a little bit, just fiddle with it. But once you have that dry, then you can go ahead and manipulate the little petals, whether it be with the same tool. You can feed those little petals right back inside and curl them back if you want to. It really depends on the look that you want to give that little flower. Or you can just press it back with your fingertips and get a more open flower. And these are meant to be playful, so you can make as many as you like, of course. So here I just cut them out of that bubblegum pink paper. I think they're so pretty. It's like a little sunburst. And of course now you can decorate this further by placing a few of these on top. There's the other thing that's available are of course the sentiments for the tags that will actually deboss into the paper. So this is the one that says good things, and this one says small packages. So what I've done is adhered them onto two separate tags that I'm now going to adhere back to back. And I did place dimensional adhesive right in between. I thought that would be fun. To attach the little flowers, I am going to use a little bit of hot glue all on one side. And I'm doing this because of the fact that this is mirror card. Of course, you want to avoid any of the fold lines. So I'm placing them all together like that. And there's the tag here. I've added it with that pretty little piece of ribbon. In this case, this is the 9mm wide. I think it looks really cute. If you want to, of course, you can add more shine with the drops. This won't dry with a very dark color, so you can add it in the center if you want to. You can add it on the edges of the petals. Just give it a little more color there. So those are my two versions there of the pails. Super cute. I'm going to now use one of the foil sheets to make a small card. And I'm starting with the basket portion. And I'm also going to use the handle. So this is one of the pieces of the cream cardstock, as you can see. I'm going to remove the carrier sheet, place this right on top, and I'm going to burnish this, and this is the smooth side. And now I'm going to take a piece of the foil, I'm going to remove the carrier sheet, use the same paper creaser to burnish this onto the image. I'm going to remove this portion now. You get to see how beautiful it looks. I might need to revisit some little spots, but so far, this is what I have. I'm going to retouch some of them. It looks like I removed the shine from a little portion there, but the color stayed behind. So be aware that if you double it up, that might happen. But I'm now going to remove this one. So I've got that transferred really nicely. I think it's so pretty. I love the shine on that. So I'm going to cut this out now. Here I went ahead and took advantage of that shimmer powder once again. I've cut out several blooms using the die included, the bubblegum pink cardstock, and some of the vellum. And I sprayed some water onto my table, took a watercolor brush, and simply picked up that medium. As you can tell there, it puddles just like any other watercolor medium, only in this case it has that really nice intense color. And of course you can color all of your papers whichever ones you like. I didn't cover every single surface of the paper, but I was really happy with all of the shimmer that I was able to add to these. And then I went ahead and dried them off camera. But as you can see there, depending on where that lands, you're going to get a different effect and also a different color. The intensity will vary quite a bit. And I was really happy just playing around with all of these. So again, off camera, I went ahead and fiddled with those and got them all together. But the card that I'll be making is a 5x5 card. I took a piece of 300 GSM card in 5x10, folded it, and went ahead and burnished that fold so it'll be a top folding card. And then I took a piece of that holographic paper and I cut it about a 1/16 of an inch smaller. Used the double-sided adhesive from Craft Perfect, and I'll be adhering this right on front. I just love this type of paper because, as you can see there with the reflection, it just picks up all the different colors, and it is so very pretty. Don't forget that Tonic Studios has several different types of mirror cards, so if you've not looked at them yet, go ahead and take a peek at them over on the web pages. They're absolutely and the foiling that I had transferred onto that paper. So I colored in certain areas, and here is what that pen looks like. You can highlight any areas that you like. And then the rest of the florals I did color using just a bunch of different Nuvo pens here. These are alcohol-based markers. They have a broad tip and a small nib that you can use. And here's the sentiment. I had also used the same foil color, added it onto cream cardstock, and repeated the steps by adding color around the edges with a Nuvo marker and then the white gel pen. I'm going to layer now all of these pieces, and what I did is I added the dimensional adhesive behind these elements that I had created. I'm going to double those up with Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and I'm going to show you how you can hide adhesive behind your little elements that you may add to a card. So I just kind of eyeballed there the placement on the front. I'm flipping that over, and now I'm adding double-sided dry adhesive here again with that Craft Perfect tape, and I'm going to be adhering this onto that holographic paper. So I take it step by step, but the first piece is this main foundational embellishment on this card, and now I'm using the other one as if it were a little handle on a basket, but you're going to notice that I did leave some room in between the two, so just a little bit of space there. And now I'm flipping over that vellum again, adding a little bit more adhesive right behind it. And next I'm adding the little flowers. And now you can see how different they look once that shimmer powder is dry. The intensity of the color is quite nice, especially on the pieces of vellum. So I went ahead and just added a few of them, and not all of the ones that I rolled, but I wanted you to see how easy it is to make them. Next, I did add more dimensional adhesive to the little thank you tag. I had also added a little bow with twine. I thought it would look really pretty, and it's not too bulky because there's already enough dimension on this card. And again, behind that, I'm adding the little bits of adhesive. And what I'm going to do next is add little drops of adhesive on the four corners of the vellum and hide those using little circles that you can cut out using one of the dies from the set. I thought it looked really cute. It looked almost as if there were little grommets on the corners of the paper. So that was just as easy as layering the adhesive and then adding the little circles right on top. And because they're the same color, they just match perfectly. And that was the completion of this card, but I did go ahead and reach into my stash and grab this pen. This is a Glimmer Gloss pen, and it is an Aqua Flow pen, also water-based from Nuvo. So you can add that along with any of the drops, and that's what I did to complete decorating the front of this card, was just to go ahead and use that lighter blue translucent drop included in the kit, and I was so happy with the results. It's so subtle to see the little drops on there, but then everything else has shine, and there's just different ways to go about doing all of this, but I had tons of fun. These are my projects. I hope that you have enjoyed watching me create them. I look forward to seeing what everyone else is going to make, but of course I invite you to go ahead, take advantage of the links in the description bar of this video, subscribe, like the video, and let me know your thoughts. And as I always say, I do hope that you can be inspired and be blessed. And I thank you